Where to start?
Who wants to go first?
Look at the two of you, soldier and politician.
Yeah, start there. So Domitian is Aedile Ludi, which is a very important position in Rome, which means I run the gladiatorial games. He's realised that that's his point of power, and so he's going to use that and push that forward as much as he possibly can.
Titus as a young man was probably quite a sensitive and quite naive young man, kind of the opposite of Domitian in a lot of ways. And so actually building himself into this warrior, I actually don't think Titus has any ambition, really. I think his only desire is to fulfil the role that's been given to him to gain his father's appreciation and respect.
Your brother did well today. You did not.
I think it's always the debate of nature versus nurture, but I feel like their natures are very, very different. I would be very intrigued to see what had happened if Domitian was born first and Titus was born second. In a way, I think they probably would have found it easier between them to find an equilibrium and perhaps could have ended up being closer allies. But as it is, I feel like both of their positions have actually created two animals that feel very counter to me.
I think it's true. There is an element of like two strangers living in the same house almost. There's so many secrets between the two of them. They've never been able to communicate eye to eye because I think of Domitian's bitterness and ambition that's sort of stopping him from having a connection with Titus. I think if they did have a connection, and if they did see that actually what they both want is a better Rome, it probably would have been a beautiful combo if only they could have seen eye to eye. But sadly, we're enemies.
You need money. Lots of money.
You play a dangerous game here.
Talking about Tenax, and that was the fun thing for me. He's very different with everyone. How he is with Domitian or how he is with Scorpus is so different. I mean, he plays every room he's in. He's never stopping. He's always on the go.
My character, she's just driven by trying to save her children. This is a different culture, different city, different rules for her. He's the best person for her. She needs him because he really knows the city.
He sees how competent she is. She can really run this betting tavern. He's amazed by that and he admires her, but she seems to bring something out of him and he finds it frightening and thrilling and he feels he's disarmed, it's stripped, and he can say stuff to her that he wouldn't say to anyone. Do you remember we talked a lot about who gives who the wine? At the beginning, Tenax gives her a wine and then there's another scene a few episodes later where she gets the wine and how their relationship is beyond status and who they are outside of this apartment.
He's just himself with Cala. Maybe that's it.
He needs Cala. He needs someone to help him.
And at some point, Tenax also puts her to face the fact that she's not that moral that she says also. Obviously, everything she's doing is for her children.
My girl.
But she's capable of doing bad things too.
I think he shows her that in Rome, you need to be ruthless to succeed.
Antonia Civilis, you honor us with your presence.
I think Antonia and Scorpus are driven by a huge ego, a good bit of narcissism, courage, and madness. She's driven more than by money, she's driven by power. It always comes down to some vulnerable childhood. She's probably hurt. She probably has a scar that we don't really know, but it's not just power because of power, but power represents really control. She wants to be heard, she wants to be seen, she wants to choose. These are all things that can be deadly if they don't go the right way.
With Scorpus, it was important to remember that they were in the ancient world, and an athlete at that time probably saw the world slightly differently. The idea of glory and the idea of your name ringing out is what was motivating Scorpus. I mean, he actually says a few times he doesn't care about money or power or respect. He has all those things. When he felt most alive were those moments on the racetrack where death is so close. He bursts through, the crowd roars, and it's his name once again that rings out. Scorpus! That must be quite a tonic.
Eros and Thanatos, erotism and death, can really bond together. So there are two animals in this carnage, in this cage of devastation and death.
Go, Scorpus!
Well, I don't think there's anything romantic. I think for someone who's a bit narcissist like Antonia, she likes him because he's a winner.
Yeah, he can have all the women he wants. They're throwing themselves at him. With Antonia, she will never be obsessed with Scorpus the way his fans are. He had a slightly naive belief that she was in love with him. Do you know what I mean? I think there was a moment where he sort of saw her as another one of his fans. As the show goes on and he starts to realize she has her own internal life. And in the hierarchy of things that are important to Antonia, Scorpus is high up, but he's not as high as he thinks he is.
for you, Johannes, but for me, it was kind of like a lot of pressure was on our shoulders, because every time I come onto set, the Gladiator battles was always spoken about. Oh, we cannot wait to see what you guys have been training on. We cannot wait to see the fight sequences. I just hope it's good enough for the weight.
It's a lot of conditioning and making it part of your muscle memory. Then sometimes on the day of filming, they'll change stuff and like, oh, we're going to cut that little bit out. And I've conditioned my body to do this routine for 6 months, but it's all good. We're in really good hands.
Now you're learning. I feel like on the actor's perspective, especially for our characters, it was good that we got to spend all that time together.
Oh, absolutely. It does serve a purpose. I mean, Viggo's goal is just to be with his wife and child. You can't execute that in one day. You have to live within that reality that doesn't really allow for humanity, but you need humanity. You need friendship. And so when Kwame enters the Gladiator confinement, he finds a friend in him. That was a beautiful part of this whole story for me, was just their humanity and friendship.
The show is so cinematic.
Yeah.
Every time you walk on the set, you're kind of in awe and you're amazed. You're just like lost in the whole thing. And it wasn't just that I was working with Roland, it's because I also had lions and tigers and wolves all on set, on my first day.
Like you said, the cinematic aspect of it, Roland has never done a TV show before, and I think he still hasn't, because this is a 10-hour movie. My first day of filming, Roland comes out and said, no, it has to be done with grace and dignity. And he was talking about the smoke. This wasn't direction to actors. There's a guy on a little smoke machine. Wow. So that's the pressure he puts on the smoke. It's a movie. It's a 10-hour film.
Now after seeing it, it's truly amazing. It's definitely a show I would have watched even if I had no parts in it.
I hope the viewers take an understanding of what it is to be in a situation where you can't control things, like how far you would go to survive.